curiosity ultimately will lead you back to things that you enjoy. So if you're curious about something, there's a little joy thread there. Your joy leads you straight back to your intuition. It's an expression of your intuition. So you can trust your curiosity, you can trust your joy. They're all expressions of love, which are expressions coming directly from source.
Beautiful soul, welcome back to the Abundance Club podcast. I want to ask you something. What if the way that we have been taught to succeed is actually the thing that is keeping you from the life and the business that you truly desire? I'm so excited to share this conversation with you today because I have Jennifer Liss in the Abundance Club, and Jennifer helps people feel safe to fully be themselves and to get paid for it. She blends nervous system safety with identity expansion and sales energetics to help people create the lives and business that feel as good as they look. And in this episode, we explore what happens when you stop trying to fit into what's expected of you and instead start to follow what feels true for you, what feels true for you and your soul, even when it doesn't make sense on paper. Because so often the way that we have been taught to create success and wealth and money isn't actually aligned with who we are and who we're here to be. And when you begin to start to question that, something really powerful starts to open up for you. And we're going to really dive into that in this conversation. I really love it. One of the things that I love about Jennifer as well is that she just holds this beautiful space and gives you so much permission to be who you are and who you came here to be. And what's possible from that place is truly limitless. So this is going to feel really expansive, maybe confronting at times, but in the most liberating way. It's really an invitation for you to look at where you might be holding yourself back and what becomes possible when you choose to no longer do that. Okay, so before we dive in, I would really love it that if you are loving this podcast in any way and it is impacting your life, please make sure that you are following along on your chosen platform. And if you feel called, I would love it if you could take a moment to rate and review the podcast. It truly helps us to reach more people, and I would be so, so grateful for that. And of course, share this with someone who you feel needs to hear it. Let's spread the love. I also, before we dive in, want to invite you into something that I am hosting on April 22nd, and it's called Infinite Supply. This is a free masterclass, and it is for you if you feel that you are ready to move beyond understanding, beyond concepts and ideas, and into actually experiencing them and living as them. Because abundance, as we know, it's not something out there that we chase, that we try to earn. It's something that you embody. It's your internal state. And in this masterclass, I'm going to actually guide you into what it feels like to shift into that state so that your life begins to reflect that from the inside out. So all the details are in the show notes. You can just go ahead and click the link. It's free to join. I can't wait to meet you in there and dive deeper into this journey. It's going to change your life. All right, my loves, thank you for being here. Without further ado, let's dive into this conversation and welcome the beautiful Jennifer Liss. Thank you for being here. Okay, welcome to the Abundance Club. Beautiful Jennifer Liss. Thank you for being here.
I'm so excited.
I'm excited too. We were just talking before on air about, what Jen teaches about and coaches about, and it just feels like it's really in alignment and on brand with what we love to riff on and dive into inside of the Abundance Club. So I feel like this is going to be a really juicy conversation. Jen, we talk a lot about, and we talk a lot about becoming. We talk a lot about, understanding who we truly are. We talk about evolving our identity and upgrading, and how manifestation ultimately becomes the expression or the byproduct of that. So I'm interested to know, I guess, a little bit about for you recently, like the internal journey that you've been on that's brought you to a place where you now lead women into ultimately getting paid to be themselves. So do you want to start there?
Yeah. I mean, is there any cooler thing than people getting paid to be themselves? I'm definitely on a soul journey of that. That's my journey. That's my entire journey here is a journey back to really realizing that that is enough, that being yourself is exactly what you came here for. And so that's been my journey since childhood. I have a very vivid memory that really is kind of my anchor for myself, and it's my anchor at every level. So you said, what are you going through right now? It's the same thing as when I was in fourth grade and my teacher gave us an assignment to write a paper, American history. So not Australian history. You're Australia, not New Zealand, right? Yeah.
Australian.
American history paper. So not on anything, but this very broad topic. And I instantly had this fun idea to write a paper about this president who kind of his big story that everybody remembers about him is that he once got stuck in a bathtub. So he was kind of like a portly fella and he got stuck in a bathtub. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to write it about that. But I didn't. I wrote the story about something. I don't even remember. Actually, it was so boring. All I actually remember is how nervous I was and how to go do the presentation in front of the class. Instead of it being fun and funny like I initially thought it would be, I made it really hard and it wasn't enjoyable. It wasn't fun. In fact, it sucked. And so that really is the story of my life, and the story of my journey is continuously finding places where I don't follow the joy and follow the fun and follow the ease and follow the silliness. I get myself stuck in my own bathtub of not having fun. And so that really is my journey. And I come up against it all the time. So you say, Jen, what are you coming up against? Oh, not being my authentic self to the extent that I possibly could, which will attract the most clients, which will have the most joy, which is, in a meta way, it's what I teach.
And like we hear this a lot, right? Like a lot of women want to be fully themselves. I mean, why wouldn't we, right? And as you said, like getting paid to be fully yourself, like yes, like sign up for that, of course. So we hear about this, and authenticity is your magnetism. So we can understand this conceptually, that's one thing, but yet in truth, so many of us find that there's still this subtle editing that's going on, that there's still this fear of perception, of this fear of being fully visible, right? Like all of these layers and cloaks that we have over the top of us and our conditioning. So what are women actually prioritizing for themselves when they keep editing who they are? Like, why are we finding that we can want this, but when it comes down to it, it just feels so out of reach for so many of us? And what becomes available on the other side of allowing yourself to be fully self-expressed? So can you take us on that kind of journey?
Yeah, I love this question so much, and I can tell that you've lived it because you're even asking it and you teach it, and that's the
Yeah.
reason that you have such a good question on this, because this is what so many women what we're living with. And one of the things that I like to teach and share and to start from scratch is that there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with you for masking. There's nothing wrong with you for doing the things that you have done that have been out of alignment for you, that have not been authentic, that don't feel like they're manifesting the life that you desire. There's nothing wrong with any of it. It's simply the things that you have done. The masking, it's simply something that you're doing. And so taking the charge of right and wrong and good and bad, that ultimately creates shame that actually keeps us stuck. So you said, why are people continuing to do it? Well, because we are in cycles of shame that is actually something that's created by your brain and your nervous system to keep you in the same loop so that you never change. So actually shaming ourselves about it is keeping us stuck in these cycles. So ground one, there's nothing wrong with it. And can you actually recognize that there's fully, absolutely nothing wrong at all with the behaviors that you have taken? You could never possibly do anything wrong. You simply did what you did. And when we actually get totally okay with that, as I say that, it is 111 here, just pointing that out to anybody who's an angel number person.
Love it.
So anybody who needed to hear that message, it just dropped in for you. When we can start there, now we actually have our nervous system out of a state of dysregulation, because when we make ourselves wrong, we're dysregulated. And when we're dysregulated, we're going to keep staying in those same cycles that continue that dysregulation. So it's like, what if I can just be okay with who I've been, be okay with who I am, and now I have choice to choose, who do I want to be? Like, what fun do I get to have if I have choice? And if I've been simply choosing this and it hasn't been right or wrong or good or bad, what would I choose differently? And now we have the opportunity and the freedom to start something new.
I really love when you talk, like ultimately you're just giving people an opportunity to just meet themselves where they are. Like, and what I'm understanding is a lot of the time it's in this battle that we have of thinking that we're not enough, that we're not there, that we've done something wrong. Like look, like we're looking back continually thinking, I should be here, I should be further along, or why aren't I doing this? Or we're comparing to somebody else who we think is further along, like all of this. And I love that in your energy and your language, you're allowing people to meet themselves and you're also just giving them that real permission that like who you are right now is enough. You're right where you're meant to be. And when you say that, and even though like I've been teaching this for so many years, but when you say that, there's something that happens in your body and your nervous system. Like I even felt it in mine. Like I obviously needed that message as well. There's something that just untethers, that unlocks and lets go. And that's when like, that's the confirmation of your body just saying, yeah, I actually don't want to hold this. It's shit to hold this, all of these layers and all of this conditioning. And then you're bringing them back to that foundation of like, okay, like step one, like just meet yourself as you are, which I think is just so beautiful and so powerful, right? We all need that. You talk, and I love this, about joy and about joy almost becoming your success strategy. And what I find interesting about this, in my experience of this, is that I think so many women feel like, used to feeling like joy comes after the success, right? Joy comes after I've done all of this, not before it. And because we've been conditioned in that way, many find it hard to access that, right? To actually access, or might even be triggered by it, like feel joy. It's like, I'm so far from feeling joy. So I'm just curious how, first of all, you came to this understanding and this belief that success can actually come from joyful magnetism. And if joy is a frequency that we can create from, which I completely believe as well, like not a reward that we earn at the end of the day or when we go on vacation, like how does someone begin to reclaim that frequency when we have been so used to like outsourcing it?
Yeah. I and this is the crux. My business is actually called Untethered with Jen Liss. That's my actual business. So you use the word untethered at one point, and that for me it is that breaking free of this idea that we get to retire after we have worked so hard. We get dessert after we have had the main course. We get the fun after we have earned it and worked so hard. And how I came to that conclusion, how I came to that point of really understanding that that's wrong. That's not actually how it needs to work. I mean, it is one way. Maybe it's not wrong. I will actually walk myself back on that because that's simply the way that a lot of us are living and that we've been taught to live. And that's the society and the beliefs that we believe we need to create from, but it's not actually how it needs to be. It gets to be a
And
different
we may
way.
not even get to that. Many people don't even get to that, right? Don't even make it
Yeah.
to that retirement.
Yes. The realization for me came when I did hair for many years. I was a hairstylist, very busy, working so busy. In fact, I remember doing a client's hair. She is an 85-year-old woman who drove to the salon to come get her hair done at 10 o'clock p.m. It's the only time I could get her in. That's how much I was working. And like I was sacrificing myself and this poor little lady coming and sacrificing herself at that time. And it's like the only way that we could understand, like the only way I can make more money is get all my clients in. The only way I can make everybody happy is to just do more. And
Yeah.
then I'll get the reward, then I'll get the vacation that I so deserve. Right. And I eventually burned myself out on that job. I went back and I got a degree and I started working in marketing and I found myself at the same place, working every night, traveling all the time, working so hard. And I was like, okay, two time is a pattern. I'm not going to do this anymore. What's happening? And I started working with a coach. And that coach told me most adults' least favorite F word, which gets to your point of like most people are just triggered at the word joy. Like, go have fun. Like,
Yeah.
no, fun is my least favorite F word. Do not tell me to go have fun. So, but she said, go to work tomorrow and I want you to look around and I want you to say what looks like fun. I was having no fun in this job. Like, no fun. There was no fun to be found. I'm looking around. I'm like, this job sucks. No, it's not fun. I'm not having any fun. But then I happened to look over my shoulder at what my boss was doing. And I was like, Chad, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm working on this project. It's terrible. It's horrible. You won't want anything to do with it. I was like, I don't know. Tell me more. So I end up working on this project that he thought was terrible. That to me was like, oh, that sounds like fun. He took over my project that I thought was terrible.
Mm.
And that really opened my eyes to like, wait a second. What I was doing sucked. He thinks it's fun. What he was doing, he thought sucked. And I think it's fun. Ultimately, me following that rabbit hole led me to doubling my income in my corporate career. I ended up going into work that, like, I ended up going into employee development, which ultimately has led me to this. So I followed my fun and I realized that that was a better way for me to get paid more. And that direct link is what led me to what I teach now.
When, I mean, and so I'm just understanding that in the business. So if somebody has, whether it's their own business or they're working in the business and thinking like, follow the joy and follow the fun, like how do they start to access that if they haven't been used to it? So like you're like, I don't find any fun in this. And obviously something was shown there and you started to ask the question. Let's say as an entrepreneur and you're getting up in the morning and you've got like all these things that you can do in your business. And often we will just do it out of habit. Like we'll just do it as an autopilot, like, oh, I've got to do these emails and then I'll have to do this. How do we start to utilize this fun or this joy as that compass in our day to day? How do you start to guide people into, I guess, first understanding how they tap into that within themselves, and then how do they use that as a strategy within just their day to day in their business?
Well, first thing first, you really need to know what joy feels like to you. And we all do, we just don't recognize it. So before you even do any of this, it's like recognize what is joy like to you. And so I would ask, what is a memory that you can, something just, it could be from childhood, it could be from last week, where you were having the best time. Could be laughing with friends. It could be, for me, a memory that comes up is me as a child riding on my bike with my wind in the hair and the little tassels on my bicycle handles flying in the wind. For me, that feels like joy and I can feel that in my body. So for you, what memory comes up? I'll actually ask you, Amy, does something come up for you, a moment of just, you were just having an awesome time?
Like the first thing that comes up for me would probably be being on the other side of birthing my twins. When I like had them both because it was such a big journey, and then I finally had them both in my arms, like at the end of that journey, and that was a joy that I've never experienced before. It wasn't that like full like it was just all encompassing, like it was incredible. That's what
Yeah.
came up to me.
What does that feel like in your body? That moment of whatever that was for you. What does it feel like?
It feels like it feels like space. It feels like relief. It feels like an opening. And it feels like, for me, actually, it feels like an arrival, a coming home.
Mhm. That's so beautiful. Okay, I'm going to ask you this because you're pretty deep in this work, so you may or may not be able to make a connection. But for you and your work every day, do you feel that? Is that in your work? Is that in you when you're showing up in what
Not
you do?
always, not always, not in
Okay.
everything,
Yeah.
right? Not in everything.
In the work that you do with women, is there some kind of an opening that you create, a coming home? Is there something with that?
Absolutely. In when I'm doing the work, like when I'm with you like this, or when I'm coaching women or I'm in my group programs, 100% absolutely. The other things, which I don't like all of the tech and all of that, not so much. That's where I get frustrated.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. Okay. But recognize that that feeling of you holding your twins, it was opening, it was coming home, it was all of that. You have intuitively moved yourself and knowingly because you do this work, right? But like intuitively, you have moved. Your joy is your strategy.
Mm.
Your joy, your pure joy. What is joy for you? You have actually done it. We're all actually using joy as our strategy all the time. It's your internal compass. You've been doing it. It's when we can turn up the volume on it, which is also bringing it into the spaces where we aren't having a good time. We're a little bit more resistant.
Mm.
How can you bring that feeling of opening, that feeling of coming home to yourself in the other places where it doesn't currently exist.
Yeah, that's the work for me at the moment. I want
Yeah.
this to lead into nervous system because I can feel the activation there in my nervous system. And I know you
Mm-hmm.
teach so beautifully around this as well, around nervous system aligned growth. So, can we bring that into the conversation here as well when
Yes.
we're meeting those edges? We're feeling like this actually isn't me. Well, it's me. I know nervous system is part of us, but this feels almost a little bit out of control of me at the moment. I can feel myself getting pulled back into
Mm-hmm.
that loop and that conditioning and that kind of programming.
I love it so much. Thank you for being willing to go there. And this is what makes you such an awesome leader, is that
Hmm.
you are willing to be vulnerable and to be here in the moment and say, you know what, this is activating, this is happening in
Mm.
my system. So you likely recognize this about yourself, but that's a huge leadership
Mm.
quality and what makes you just such an awesome human being. People are
Mm.
attracted to that, right? It's like, okay, I'm dropping into my body. So from a nervous system standpoint, it's normal that this would be activating something in you. You've got a little resistance point, right? Like you have followed your compass, but we all have these things. We've got these places where it's like, well, I can't have fun there. And that's what your system has.
Mm.
It's said, that's not a place where my fun gets to be. That's not a place where I get to enjoy myself. This work sucks. So
Mm.
you're in the place that I was in my corporate world. Like that's all it is. It's just you're in that place with this particular thing where it doesn't get to be a good time for Amy to do this tech stuff.
Mm.
But is that true?
No. And it's only not enjoyable when I get in my head about it and I listen to the stories, right? I can actually have joy in that space. And I
Yes.
have, and I will, but it'll just depend on the work that I'm kind of internally doing to allow myself to get that. Like when I'm feeling pressured, when I'm feeling like this have to do, need to do, rather than it just flowing innately from like, this would be something that I'd like to do right now. That's where there's that kind of disconnect.
Yeah. So let's talk about the nervous system. 100%.
Mm.
That's exactly right. It's like, I know that I could go hula hoop a few times and just swing my hips around. And all of a sudden, I would go handle that tech like a breeze because my energy is in a different place. I've shifted my energy and I can move back into that using my joy as a strategy. For somebody who's never done that before, that is your path out. Your path
Yeah.
out is always to go do something that's enjoyable for you. It gets you back into the flow of the energy of your joy. But let's talk about what's happening in your nervous system right now as we speak. You might have already shifted it a little bit because you even were like, oh, no, it actually doesn't have to be that way. So you might notice in your body, it's not as activated as it was 3 minutes ago
Mm.
when I
Mm.
was like, you could just have fun, Amy, don't you know?
Mm. But let's
And your
go
nervous
there. I
system is
want to
like,
go
no.
there. I want to go there at any rate. But something else that I wanted to share that I remembered as you were speaking, I had a yoga business for 15 years. We had yoga studios. And when we talk about joy, I remember I got to a point where I felt like I could keep going with this, right? It's a successful business. It works. I'm good at it. Everything is like all of the structure is there. But there was something that was missing for me. And it was that like my joy had just kind of flatlined. It's like I could keep, and I feel like the reason I want to speak to those, I feel like many people get to that place where we
Mhm.
can just keep going because we can do it, right? Just because we can do it doesn't mean that that's what is the next thing for us and what's meant for us. And I had to then start to really tap into again, what is this like? And I believe I was being led by a spark of joy that wanted to come alive. But in order to do that, I had to kind of go through the discomfort and like take some leaps and make some calls that didn't necessarily make logical sense, right? So that just reminded me of that around the importance. Like I like you, I believe that joy is speaking to us. It's our compass, and we've got to make that room to let it in, but also that we don't have to stay in situations just because we can do it. I believe that we are meant to be lit up by what we're doing. So I just wanted to add that in.
Yeah, I love this example. And I have the same. I mean, in my hair business too, I look back now and I'm like, oh, I could have grown in a whole new way. I could have found my joy and my spark there, but I didn't know how. So what I was being guided to by my own joy and by my own curiosity. So let me just give a pathway to people. Your curiosity ultimately will lead you back to things that you enjoy. So if you're curious about something, there's a little joy thread there. Your joy leads you straight back to your intuition. It's an expression of your intuition. So you can trust your curiosity, you can trust your joy. They're all expressions of love, which are expressions coming directly from source. So that's your intuitive thread. I'm sure you teach this too. So like that's all your thread. Curiosity is an expression of love. Joy is an expression of love. You can trust it. And we do. You trusted that path straight out of the yoga, which ultimately brought you to whatever. You could totally, at this point, if you wanted to, go back to yoga, build some new business from a new place of knowing because you've been on this journey, if you wanted to. But you can do whatever you want. You can stay in coaching. Like we can do whatever we want at this point. But that's, you now have this deeper sense of knowing from following that thread. But what sometimes a tendency will do of our nervous system to keep us stuck, it'll be like, oh, you didn't need to leave that career. You could have just stayed. Don't you know? Now you could have just stayed. Now we're back into the beginning of our conversation of shame that keeps us stuck in spirals. So that's where the nervous system is so clever. Your brain and your nervous system are not here to help you thrive. They're here to help you survive. So you're together, they will work to pull you into a thought that pulls you into the loop that keeps you stuck in some kind of shame or blame or doubt or uncertainty that keeps you from actually following the joy path, because joy comes from that place of love, which comes from pure possibility, which is out of control. It's totally out of control. The universe is uncontrolled, uncontrolled ideas. It's chaos. It's like this, we have no idea what is out there. And so our systems are trying to control. And so we've got this like intuitive connection to total source and all goodness and all of these cool ideas that can drop in. But then we've got a system that's like, no, this is the safe. Come back into safety. So it does take like that deepening connection with our intuitive knowing to start to learn to trust it. And when you reflect back on all the little places where you've trusted it along the way and you see, oh, what you just pointed out, I trusted my intuition that led me here. And it's like the brain's like, oh, it was safe to do that chaotic thing of leaving my successful career. Oh, they're safe. Actually, that was more safe than I thought. And then you can take more active, thoughtful steps to follow it.
Yeah, I love the way that you brought intuition into this as well, and you know, joy being the messages, right? Like that message from your intuition and how we can and you know, I think the way that you tie that in and taking us on a journey of like we've all had an experience where we have felt that joy before, where we have felt that expansion, and it's like come back to that and let that start to guide you. What do you find, because you coach women in this work, what do you find are the main things that, and it might just be in this season at the moment, the women that are coming to work with you, that they are kind of bumping up against, that's holding them back in limitation, and you're seeing like you're on the precipice of expansion here if you would just start to do this or embody this? Can you speak about what that is at the moment?
Yeah. So the work that I do is ultimately exactly that. It's expansion, and it's expansion through finding internal safety. So signaling to ourselves, which is what we started this call with by saying, you're okay. Like every choice that you've made is great. Now we've signaled a new level of internal safety that most people have never had, because we've been taught to make ourselves either right or wrong about every decision, which puts our system in a dysregulated state. We're operating continuously out of dysregulation by making ourselves wrong about our past decisions, our present decisions, our potential future decisions. And so when you can't expand to your greatest capacity from a dysregulated state, we expand, our capacity expands when we are in regulation. By the way, regulation does not mean calm, does not mean peace, does not mean like, it doesn't mean that your like system is just like, okay, regulation is your ability to toggle between the high and the low. That's your regulated space. So I think we misunderstand. Sometimes it's like, I just need to be calm. And then no. It's like, you just need to be able to dance. When you can dance, then we're in regulation. So Did I answer your question? I might have gone a little left field.
No, no, no. I love where you're going. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So ultimately, that ability, when we can expand what is called the window of tolerance in nervous system, like it is your ability to be like in freeze or in fight flight. Your ability to toggle between those two sides is that's your dance floor. And when you can grow that dance floor, now we can expand to our next level because we know we're safe. We know we're okay. No matter what I do, I'm going to have a safe landing. And that might not be your brain is always going to argue with you about that
Yeah.
because your brain is not you. So what I teach, the primary thing that I teach, which gets back to your question, what is it that you're teaching people? I'm teaching people that you are not what you think you are. You are a soul who came here to have a human experience. And so your soul's always okay. No matter what decision you make, it's like, this is fun. Let's try it. This is fun. This is going to be good.
Yeah.
Let me just nudge you in that direction. This is going to be so good. But your human is going to be like, no. How about no? And so we're in this constant toggle, but most people are identifying with their human. They're identifying with the brain, with the nervous system. They think that that's what they are, but it's not what you are. You're a soul who came here to have an experience. And when you can shift your perspective to that, now expansion is completely abundant. There is so much space. There's so much room from that place. That dance floor becomes infinite. Whereas the human perspective will always be finite because there's only it's got its level of safety. So we're ultimately learning to be in the perspective of the soul.
I love this. I'm such a visual person. So as you're talking, like I just see it all in pictures. I'm like, the dance floor, I've never had it described as that before. That's so cool. I could see like you're on the dance floor and you're being able to like toggle and move between it and the feeling is like free, expansive, right? We can move. And then I have this image of someone that's like standing on the edge of the dance floor. It's like, I won't go into the dance floor. So I think this is like in practice, what do you find? And I don't like using the word block, right? But what do you find are the things that those women that's really holding them back? And is it primarily then that nervous system regulation, the buying into the old stories that we can dismantle and bringing them back into, which sounds like a lot of the work I do as well, bringing them back into the truth of who they are, which is a limitless, soulful being, expansive being, and what then becomes available in their business? What are you seeing then in their business on the other side of this when they're able to get on the dance floor, when they're able to remember this? What are some of the things that you're then seeing, whether you're witnessing?
Yeah, these are such good examples. I love your visual on this because there's two separate instances. There's the person who's afraid to get on the dance floor and then they get there. And then there's certain things that happen once you're on the dance floor. You might feel like everybody's looking at you and you feel weird and like you can't be fully yourself. So you're dancing really stiff. A lot of business owners are dancing really stiff, like dancing robotically because we think that everybody's looking at me and so I can't let it loose. The business owners who are succeeding are flailing around and they are dancing to the beat of their own drum. So I'm currently teaching a cohort of a course called Safe to Be Seen. And so I am teaching, we're learning in real time, how can I build internal safety to be myself on the dance floor? And so that is a lot of it for a lot of people. But there are also just choices. Like there's the choice that you know you need to make that you just haven't made. And that's a lot of times what's actually holding us back is like, I know that doing this is not supporting my highest and best. I know that not getting enough sleep is making it so that I'm not working to my greatest capacity. I know that not dancing before I sit down to do the tech stuff is not supporting me. So it does ultimately come down to the choices that we're making day to day that are like, is this actually in alignment with me being the best dancer that I could possibly be?
Yeah.
And I don't mean like being the best TikTok dancer. I mean, like you dancing in your fullest unbridled joy. That is you, that is actually you as your best dancer, or is it not? So I think there's choices. I had just on this cohort, I'll just share, one person said, I feel like when I'm fully authentically myself, it embarrasses my adult children, and that holds me back. And I appreciated that so much from her, because that's so real. That's so real. It's like, I feel like I can't be fully myself because I'm going to embarrass my own kids. And so we had this conversation about her actual job is to be even more herself so that she can help her children work through their own limitations of what they're embarrassed by. So she is a gift to them by continuing to be herself. So we've all got these things for sure.
I mean, ultimately, I think it's really simple. I think we are here to be the most us that we can possibly be, right? I just think that we really overcomplicate it. But what if that is your sole purpose? You know, so many of us are looking for our sole purpose and what am I here for? And like, what if it actually is to be the most you that you could possibly be? And of course, I think it's great to talk about this. And I love, love, love this visual of the dance floor. I'm having so much fun with this because, I mean, I've started to just put on music in the morning and dance as well. So we can see the symbology of the dance floor. But actually, as you know, like movement and dance is so important for regulation and allowing yourself to expand beyond the limits. And so many of us, as you said, like will freeze on the dance floor. I mean, in the business world, it's also looking around going, well, this coach said to do this and this person said I needed to do this. And so we don't make a move because there's so many voices out there telling us how we need to be and what we need to do in order to succeed. You help women lead from who they actually are, right? Like, and yes, I get that with the teenage thing as well. Like my teenage daughter, like she gets embarrassed by me now, and I'm like, what? How can I be an embarrassment? Oh my God. So like,
I'm so cool, can't you see?
I know, I've always thought I was so cool, and then when you're not cool anymore, it's like, oh, okay. Anyway, like let's talk about the identity then that has to dissolve for that expansion and that embodied leadership to start to emerge. You know, you said that the women who are successful in business are the ones that can dance, that can fully be themselves. But there's an identity piece here. So do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I want to tell a story. So I went to a concert a couple of years ago I live in Portland, Oregon, which is the Pacific Northwest of the US. And it's an outdoor concert. And I actually went to see the opening band. I didn't even know the final band, but I went to see the opening band. But what was so interesting while I was watching, so I went there from the very beginning. I saw all four of the bands. And the interesting thing was that as I watched, I noticed the lead singer of each band. Each of these bands had the band and they had the lead singer. The front person of each band, as the night progressed, was so much freer. The guy who was the headliner, he was like, it was him with his piano, and you could sit and you could play a piano a number of ways, but he was like free. His whole body was flailing around. He was doing weird faces with his face. His mouth was like contorting into weird things as he sang, and it's like he didn't even sound good, but somehow it sounded good. You know what I'm saying? Like there's some people, they sing, you're like, Rob Zombie does not sound good, but he sounds good. Like, what is that? What is that like grovelly thing that he's doing? It's like, it moves something in you. And so think about this for you and your business. Where are you in that? Like so many people are, and it's great. Like you got on the stage. What I really help people to do is like get on the stage and then be even more yourself. Like, so we get to the stage, we're like, okay, I'm the coach and I've learned how to be a coach and I've learned how to sing on stage, but have you learned how to be you? Have you learned how to let your face make that weird contorting? Have you learned how to let your voice come out in your voice's way, the way that you talk, and to be okay with it? When I first started podcasting, my husband was like, you talk like William Shatner. What is that? I'm like, I don't know. And I was a little embarrassed about it for a while and I tried to tone it down, but then I realized that's what makes the way that I talk good, because I do emphasize things in certain ways, and that's the way that it naturally comes out of me. And that's not a bad thing. We all do some training on some certain things, sure, but that's ultimately what makes it good, is that that's the way that it feels good to come out of my body. So that's what I help people to do, is like, how does it feel good for you? So again, we're putting your joy as your strategy. what's the best way that it can flow through me, that ultimately will be the most magnetic thing for you. That's how you end up being the headliner of the show, is not by doing it anybody else's way, but doing it the way, your way is the way that feels good in your body.
Mm, mm. I can so relate to that as well. I was thinking back to also to when I started my podcast, and I know for the first 4 episodes, I think I launched it with 4 episodes a couple of years ago, and I couldn't listen initially. Like bear in mind the version of me like 4 years prior would have been like, there is no way I'm going to share my voice. There's just no way that I would do that, right? So there was a huge shift in identity there, and I had to really let go of that. But then I started, and the first 4 episodes we launched, and I couldn't listen to them for a while. Like I didn't listen back to the episodes that I recorded. I just did it. I knew I needed to just do it and put it out there, because then I was going to go into editing myself, and it never works when I do that. So I did that, and it took me a bit to get to that point where I was able to listen to myself. I can now listen, like I will go back and listen to a podcast episode, but it's a journey. And to begin with, I wasn't super comfortable with that, but I did it anyway. But now I was able to just kind of go, oh, right, okay, it's okay. It's all right. And we didn't die. And it's here, and people are actually enjoying listening to it. And okay, and that starts to feel good. So I just wanted to say that if anyone's feeling like they're waiting for that right time for it to feel really good, I just knew that that was something I needed to do. And I had to be able to do it without, you know, dissecting it all, because I would have. But I don't anymore.
Yeah,
So
I
just
love that
wanted to share
you
that.
went down this journey for yourself. I believe I used to teach podcasting, and podcasting is really a tool for healing.
Mm.
Podcasting is a way to allow your voice to start to flow through. And then again, if you're editing your own podcast, you have to listen to yourself. This cohort that I'm doing, we started by listening to ourselves. We recorded messages and we listened to it, and we listened to it again and again and again and again until we can listen to it with love.
Mm.
Which is the
Mm.
process, Amy, that you have gone through and
Mm.
any podcaster has gone through, is that eventually you get to the point of like, that sounds good. I like it. I
Yeah.
actually like listening to myself.
Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful. And then what extends from there? And I think if that's like that invitation, it's like, okay, how can I be as most me? Like how can I share more of that? I think we can keep showing up and asking ourselves the question. It's really beautiful. So what do
Mm-hmm.
you see then is possible for women? And I see this with you, when you're online or when you're on your Instagram, you're very you, right? Like I think I think the goal ultimately is to be us in every space and in every room. So we're not editing ourselves in any of these different settings and relationships. And yet that can feel far away for so many people. But what really happens energetically when we stop editing ourselves online or in business or in these spaces?
Yeah. So many of us, we were taught to edit ourselves. It's like
Yeah.
me as a child, it's like when you're at school, you need to act this way. At your grandparents' house, you better act respectful. When you're when you're in church, you have to act a certain way. So we learn really early where to put on the masks. And so we all do it. And that's the way that we have been taught to be. But when it comes to then stepping into business, and if you really desire to grow as a business person from a personal branding standpoint, we have to question those. We have to really start to question, where did I edit the joy of the experience out for me? Where did I really edit myself to the point of this is not enjoyable? So a challenge that I like to encourage people in, like, what is the best feeling that you could have when you walk into that room? So when you and think of online spaces as a room, it's a room. When I
Mm,
came onto this podcast with you, I said to myself, how could this be the most enjoyable that it could be me, for me, and her, and all who listen? So, how could this just be the best experience? But it has to come from you first. How could this, whatever it is that you're doing, how could you do it in the way that's most enjoyable for you? I don't care if you're recording an Instagram live or an Instagram story, it needs to be fun for you first
mm,
versus what is the thing that people want. And we've definitely been taught this as a business, of course, like it is about the other people, but I challenge that and I say it's about you first, and then it's about the other people. And this comes to all things. This is also your relationships. It's got to be about you first and then other people. Otherwise, we build codependent relationships, and a codependent business doesn't make very much money. So it's got to come to you first.
Yeah. And everything that you're saying here, Jen, it's really this underpinning all of this is this calling home, right? It's coming back to actually who we are, who we're here to be, who we've always been beneath the layers and the conditioning. When we untether from that and strip all of that back and remove the cloaks and the masks, it's like this is who you are. And that connection back to your essence, and you do it so beautifully in giving people that permission, that real permission to do that. And I think that the more people we have, leaders, speakers, coaches that can guide people back to that, into the like, you already are it. You have it all here. You have it all here. What do we need to just strip away? And I love that your podcast is fuck around and get paid, because it's like, why not? Like, that's my new mantra at the moment. It's just like, I'm just paid to exist. I'm just paid to be me. And it feels so good. I love it.
It's so good. And your soul knows that that's so true. It knows that that's all you really need to
Yeah.
do. And I just think if we could create, I want to be a leader of other leaders who are leading this way, because if we could create a world where that's where we're leading from, is recognizing that, what would change? What better of a place could we create? What a cool place could we create? What cool systems could we create from that space of knowing that just being you is exactly enough, and you get to do it the way that feels most enjoyable and true to your soul and to your heart. Like that, I'm all about that. And I love that we're in a time and a place where a lot of people are waking up to that, and
Yeah.
people are talking about that we have a method of you having a podcast where we can be sharing that message with people, that it's possible for you to do that. And I mean, I'm not perfect at this. I'm discovering new layers of where I'm masking myself all the time, every
Yeah.
single day, and finding new ways to be more myself. So it's a process, and it's a really beautiful one. I'm here for it.
Yeah, and that's what we're all here for, right? I don't think we ever stop that, and that's okay, because growth is a huge part of this journey of why we're here. And so, but when we understand that, we can get excited about that as well and let ourselves be led from that place. So that's so beautiful. Such a beautiful note to finish on, Jen. I think that's really just amen to all of that. Talk to us about your work a little bit more, and if people want to reach out to you, how they can do that, how they can connect.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I have a place called the Expansion Room, and that's where we're doing this work. We're learning to use joy as our strategy, and teach all kinds of things in there. So that's the place for it. But if anybody just wants to hear, just understand some of the things that might be hanging you up, I have a quiz that you can take. You can go to jenliss.com/quiz, and it gives you an archetype that helps you really understand, like, what are the ways that I might be masking? What are the ways that I might be stopping myself from being my most authentic self? And what would feel more joyful for me?
And let us know, like your podcast, Fuck Around and Get Paid. Let us know what that actually means to you energetically. Like, is it about giving yourself that full permission? Is it about audacity? Is it about play? I mean, I'm imagining it's all the things that we've spoken about, but I love the title. Do you want to just speak to that a little bit? Because I think that's really cool.
Yeah, thank you for that. We didn't even hit on that. Yes.
Mhm.
So it really goes back to the message we talked about at the beginning, that I think the world is operating through the lens of, I will get to fuck around after I get paid. Like, after I work
Yeah.
hard, I make the money. Now I'm going to get a chance to enjoy life. And I want to flip the script on that. You actually can have it the other way around, where you get to fuck around and you get paid because of it, because you are enjoying life so much. You're being so much more you. You're being radically, authentically yourself. That's actually where the biggest paydays are going to come from. And that payday comes today, because you get to have fun.
Mm. It's so cool, because I even notice in my own business, like the money that comes in when I'm sitting down doing the work versus when I'm, just having fun at the beach, or I'm going for a run and then I look down my phone, I'm like, oh, another client's booked in, right? We're not forcing it. We're open, we're expansive, we're allowing that to come in. And when we're doing that when we're not in resistance, right? So I just think that that's so beautiful. So
And it
powerful.
doesn't mean that you do nothing. There's obviously aligned action, but
Mm.
ultimately, aligned action is going to come from a place of you enjoying doing it
Yeah.
and not doing the things that you don't enjoy doing, or looking at the places where you're making it far less enjoyable than it needs to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's coming from that non-resistance too, isn't it? Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So good. Thank you, Jen. I've loved this conversation. Love it. I love your energy and your also your clarity around this too, which just shows that you have walked through this path. I mean, I'm only really interested in talking to embodied teachers and leaders, and they're the women that I attract in and men that I attract into this podcast. And you are one of those who have done that and who speak from that, and I think that's so we need more of that. So
Straight through the
thank you
fiery
for
pits of hell,
being
Amy.
you. Thank you. Yeah, I know, right? Right? Whatever you're being initiated in right now, it's all preparing you, and you're not the only one that's going through it. We all do, right? It all looks like, we put out a podcast, you see it on Instagram, it's all like we just get into this illusion that, oh, that person's got it all together and it must have an easy life and it's all coming. It's like we have to go through it. We walk through our own initiation. We walk through the fire. It's the only way.
Anybody who's painting it that way, this is what I say to anybody selling anything in business. Anybody who's painting you the picture that it's absolutely perfection, you automatically, you don't trust them
Unsubscribe.
because you know it's not true. Life isn't perfect. We all have things that we move through. That doesn't mean that you can't hold yourself to a powerful identity and really stepping into
Mm,
the life that you know is possible for you and living your best life every single day. But man, it's not perfect. Everybody who can teach from this level of wisdom that you're teaching has done the hard things. You've done
mm,
the hard things.
mm.
And so have I, and so has everybody. So we don't have to paint the picture of perfection. People aren't buying perfection these days. So
People
we can
choose
just take
real
that with a
over
big old
over perfect any day of the week, though, right? And what was coming through when you were saying that is like the net does appear, it all works out, but we're still on this journey, right? Like these are things that I'm reminding myself continuously as well. Like, but it does. We're here in this life. Life is a game and we're here to play it. So let's keep going.
beautifully said.
Thank you so much for being here, Jen.
Thank you.